Hello, I'm Tyler Edlin. Welcome back to another episode of the Brush Sauce Theater. Now this week, instead of going over tips, painting demonstrations, or paint overs, I'd like to go through this very important email I got last week that kind of addresses and brings up a lot of questions and topics I don't know how often I've covered on this channel, but I think it could definitely have a lot of value for a lot of us. So be sure to subscribe anyway, because next week I'll be back doing the regular things. And check out, if you haven't already, some of my previous uploads. I give some brush tips, I do a lot of good paint overs, and I think there's a lot of value in them. But anyways, let's get on with the email. So, as I was mentioning, I got this last week. It's from a young artist. They're about 15. I'm going to paraphrase it because it is long, and I do have a lot of notes I took in the brush sauce notebook to make sure I cover all the topics. So let's begin. I'm not a life coach, or I'm not any kind of therapist. Anything I do say is from my own personal experience, so feel free to take it with a grain of salt. So now, this artist again is about 15. They've been doing art for about 7 years. They have these expectations of themselves to be better with each and every coming piece, and it's been stressing them to the max. They have this deep fear of being rejected or replaced in the industry, or a job, any kind of studio job, and not meeting their standards. So we're going to pause there before I go on. There's a lot going on. First of all, these expectations for yourself to improve with each and every piece. Now, I think that's something a lot of us in the growth process go through at least once. I know I did, and I can date it back specifically to 2011, 2012. Every piece I was making, I thought I had to be better and better. And that started off with that piece with the massive Asian floating city with the red walls that it's one of my first uploads on this channel. Again, if we're talking about growth and development like as a cycle, alright, I was really struggling a lot trying to getting things where I wanted them to. Up to that point, it was a milestone piece for myself. It was well received. I thought it was alright. It made it into the Spectrum annual book. So I was really good. I was hyped up. I thought I was a boss after creating that one piece, basically. And the fact of the matter is, couldn't be far from the truth. I went on for maybe 8 months to a year, and no piece I ever created after that, for that long duration, ever kind of reached the popularity or I was even satisfied with. And that's just how it is sometimes. I learned a lot in the year following that. But I hit this block, and I think I've encountered something else where it's it made me realize I didn't know nearly as much as I thought I did. And that had to do with really starting this YouTube channel as well. I've learned a lot since I did it, and when I started teaching, that made me learn a lot more as well. But it's just one of those cyclical things that's sometimes we think we know stuff, we run into something, makes us realize we don't know any of that, and then you climbing back on that ladder, and you can start producing better pieces. And think of it too, if you're painting 4 pieces a month or a piece a week up to a finished level, how hard is it, or how realistic is it to even see growth within a week for any kind of skill that you develop? Art is a skill that you foster, you nurture, you work on, over the lifetime. And to kind of really expect yourself to see measurable progress each and every week like that is very unrealistic. You have to release that need to see that immediate results. Focus more on long-term things. Particularly, I like Jake Parker's mantra there: finished, not perfect. Because we're all humans. We're never perfect. We're never going to be perfect. So if you just focus on little individual things, just finishing them up, moving on, take the lessons you learned with them, then that's perfectly fine. And on that second part about you're in fear of getting fired from a job, and you're 15 again, just take it easy and relax, first of all. But if you're fearing you're working at some studio job, when you're in your 20s or something, that's just unnecessary. That's like anybody, right? Just you're fearing something and building up a lot of negative energy within yourself for something that hasn't happened yet. That's something potentially may never happen. And again, that comes down to being, if I feared getting into a car accident every time I went and drove to the grocery store or something, right? It could potentially happen. But it's why should I even bother taking that kind of trip to Negative Town? So you went on to say, everything that you do you're not satisfied with, so you try harder, and as you do see improvement, you've been expecting your creations to be masterpieces, and that's how they're playing out in your head, and you're not at that skill level yet. really, I think that's something, again, we all go through. You're starting to develop, at least, mentally, your artistic eye, your sensibilities. They're probably growing a little faster than your actual physical tactile skill and finesse of physically manipulating brushes, mediums, and whatever pencil you're using. And that can happen, but that's a good thing, because that means your eye, that you're really training it to start to see flaws, to see what's good versus what's not so good. And you're also raising your own personal standards, which is the best thing you could do in these cases. Now, in terms of really measuring things, it's great, especially when you're a student, to have a whole sketchbook or a whole notebook of just copies, master studies from life, and you revisit them once every week, once every month maybe, and then you can really measure against yourself. Have I done this faster? Have I done this with a little bit more grace? Have I done this with fewer brush strokes? And that's really one of the safest and best places to measure that sort of thing. But again, I wouldn't worry so much about it. You're gonna make good pieces. You're gonna make bad pieces. That's part of being an artist. Then you went on to say, with this, expecting these emotions with each and every passing, you're getting depressed about your work, and instead of trying to improve, you mope around and you're afraid to take on larger projects or pieces. Really detailed scenes or comic projects. They scare you to death because you don't know where to start or how to get over yourself trying harder. So now we're dealing with your failing expectations leading to areas of depression. Again, I'm not a therapist, but I would definitely say, do not put off happiness until you reach X goal. It's not worth it, and you're going to be miserable a lot of your life. For me, I can't be happy till I own a house, or I can't be happy till I have X amount of kids, or I have X amount of money, right? You can't live that way. It's no way to live. Living in it, you want to be happy. It's living. So you want to basically don't focus as much on the final goal, but more along the lines of the everyday system that you can use to achieve them, and work happiness into that system somewhere, and that would be a first great step. Remember, failure is an essential ingredient for learning, for growth, and for the eventual success. Any reputable and successful artist has made hundreds of bad pieces of art, myself included, and that goes with the territory, but you have to embrace that failure. And in terms of working happiness into a system, that's basically kind of creating a series of constant actions that you do every day. Maybe it's Monday you practice anatomy, Tuesday you practice perspective, Wednesday you practice color theory, Thursday composition and design, whatever it may be. Then you do exercises about it, then you put away the exercises, then you try them again from scratch. Maybe it's you draw a friend or portraits every Friday. Maybe you do something for charity. Maybe you go with a group of artists every Thursday to the museum. You do a study and then maybe a hangout session. But that's what I'm saying. Incorporate your micro rewards into your everyday kind of structure. You'll be a lot happier. Focus on the individual sessions, the smaller aspects, not that final goal of working in a studio or making 80 grand a year doing drawings. Just focus on now. You're a young guy. You don't want to, or girl. You don't want to focus on so much of what's down the road, but live in the moment and work on structuring that moment so that you have happiness from it. Now, in terms of tackling larger and more complex projects, well, first of all, don't set any unrealistic goals. So again, bringing it back to me, I wouldn't set a goal for myself to finish 15 pages for my own comic in 4 weeks. Not gonna happen. Not on my schedule. You have to know your own limitations and work creatively within them. I now have a kid, I have a family to support, I have a lot of other adult obligations. My time is more limited now than ever. But am I working or am I overall less productive? No, because I've learned how to adapt and to structure my own schedule around my circumstances. So I definitely would advise to do the same. And in terms of tackling complex things, well, approach it in a logical way. Break down whatever the project is into a list of series of steps that you have to take in a sequential order to get it done. Is it researching? Is it referencing? Is it outlining? Project outlines are a great way to figure out and to delegate other kind of tasks, whether it's to yourself or others. But you have to just break down something complex into a series of more manageable, smaller objectives. And then, surely over time you can build it up and accomplish anything. The whole depression and that thing, the suffering can generally come when you focus too much on yourself. So I would really say, aim to serve something higher than yourself. Again, back to my own story, when I had produced that awesome piece that I was like, yeah, this is great, and then that whole year after, I was like, fail, piece after piece. I wasn't getting happiness directly from those necessarily, even though I was learning a lot. So I started this YouTube channel with only the goal of finding knowledge, presenting it out there in a very an easily digestible way for other artists out there. And I was getting a lot more satisfaction from helping you guys, helping the audience, helping the community, than I was even producing my best pieces. And that still holds true to my heart to this day. I find more enjoyment out of helping other people than creating my next best piece. And I do truly feel, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to help something greater than the sum of myself. And so find out whatever that is, whatever you can do to serve or help others. And I think you'll begin integrating more elements of that happiness or that rewarding feeling into your own self, and you'll start to become happy. Don't always focus on you. And you said you don't have you're not the wealthiest of people. Where do you learn? Where do you go to learn something? Well, the truth is, there's no better place to learn, no better time to learn than nowadays. You can, without going to any kind of formal art school, which I do not recommend doing anyway, and that I don't even want to go down that trip right now. But you can buy really cheap $5 tutorials on Gumroads from specific artists. There's a ton of YouTube channels out there, very similar to mine. There's myself, there's Adam Duff's, there's Marco Bucci's, there's Feng Zhu's Design, there's Scott Robertson, there's the One Fantastic Week podcast. There is literally something for every walk of life in terms of the art spectrum on YouTube for free, with so much experience and knowledge out there that you can digest at your own pace. And now there's even more affordable art schools online. You could take like CGMA. You could take it as class by your instructor or by topic that you really want to focus on. So there's really a lot of options for all sort of income levels and areas of art itself. Join art communities and participate in as many contests and challenges as you can. That'd be a great way, again, for you to interact with other people, meet some new people, make friends, help each other. And that's a real great way. Rather than being all locked up in your room getting depressed about something that hasn't happened, be out there, be active, and just be aggressive about it as well. And I think good things will certainly come to you. Anyways, guys, have any of you other artists experienced some of these emotions or feelings? Do they come back? I personally, a lot of these things at least enter my mind once every week, but it's just about building up a mental block and fighting off the negative aspects of being an artist and taking on the next challenge. But let me know. I want to hear from you guys. And thank you for watching in, and take care. Thanks for watching, particularly if you made it to the end here. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, share, and comment. You can find me on Facebook, ArtStation, and Instagram. Now, I share different content on each platform, so feel free to stalk me across the web. Feel free to join the Brush Sauce community as linked below. We do hangouts, have a Discord channel, host challenges, and support each other in artistic growth. Finally, if you'd like to inquire about my one-on-one mentorship program, head over to tyleredlinart.com, click on the mentorship tab for information, and shoot me an email. Also, I run 2 courses at the Computer Graphics Master Academy. Feel free to check out those as well. Take care.